I haven't studied Trevor Noel's writings, but I've heard them once and I was just musing on part of it, and I just wanted to give you an impression that I got about it from a woman who possibly experiences a little of the feelings that Trevor Noel's having and is expressing. I don't think when she's talking about leaving nothing behind, she's talking about Suzanne at all, because Suzanne is leaving things behind, her friends, but she's leaving daughters mostly. If you're childless, you do worry that you're not leaving a legacy, that you're not leaving a genetic line, that when you go ashes to ashes, dust to dust, that's the end of you, and there's no living expression of you, that biological connection. You're the end. And autumn is thought of in some terms by some people as metaphorical for the autumn of your life. So, if you're looking at spring as birth and youth, and summer as that hot, dusky, dangerous, searing time of passion and fire and power, and then when you're moving from that into autumn, your autumn years, as a woman, in your 40s and maybe even, I don't know how Suzanne Noel, how old she is. I think she's younger. I think she might be in her 30s, but possibly contemplating this next phase of her life, if she's possibly questioning not having children. She's lived a nomadic life, and that can be thought of as the autumn. I'm not sure. Aslan is obviously, that's the Christian, that's the literary metaphor for Jesus Christ, so the lion, Aslan, making this great sacrifice. Now that's a little bit spooky, but I should go back and listen, I guess, before, or read rather, before I sort of comment. But at the time of hearing it, I didn't sense it was anything about Suzanne making a sacrifice. But, certainly it would be strange if Sarah's tone didn't change after Suzanne's disappearance from what it was before. You would expect her to be much more contemplative, much more, maybe more deep, and yet at the same time less straight up, if you know what I mean, kind of, more poetic and personal to her, that you can interpret in your way, but at the time it meant something very personal to Sarah. Yeah. And speaking of the Noels, I'm convinced that it was Trevor Noel and the Flano going to check out the site at Longhorn Ranch during the search for Suzanne and Salida in September. I'd pondered at the start with Roots Off the Mountain, etc. Those old videos, when it was more fresh, that, when did Barry Morphew contact Trevor Noel? That would be really interesting to see the phone contacts between him. When did he call him going into Denver Did he go and stay with Trevor at Denver? I'd wondered, did he sort of quickly tee something up, or had he contacted Trevor in the weeks prior? Or were they always in contact often because they had a lot of businessy connections? And how close is Barry to Sarah? And now police, besides stating Barry Morphew, in their mind, I guess they can't say it. I mean, they can lie, can't they? So they could say, well, Barry's the last person to see Suzanne alive. But, now that they've stated this and everything, what was I going to say? Yeah, and it's come out that there is quite a lot of different social media apps that Suzanne used. I mean, that seems very hip of her. And is this because she has teenage daughters? Very likely. Is it because of where she lived? You rely on other apps rather than the telephone for contact. I'm wondering, is there an app that Suzanne had that Barry Morphew didn't actually know about? And I'm not questioning whether Suzanne was seeing somebody or something like that. I mean, that's possible. You look at people using various apps to hide things from their spouse. But, is it one of these apps that police notice not too many people were being contacted on? They've spoken to so many people. So you'd think they might have seen their conversations as well. So are the police talking directly to Suzanne's daughters? Anyway, I had a fleeting thought as well that with the timing of the release, I mean, how long does it take to create this press release? Was it held and then released on Jean's death? Because it's devastating knowledge for a dying man. I don't know. Not to sort of pile on the grief. So, I'm not sure what it all means. It's certainly lovely seeing Suzanne moving, and the grace that she had about her, and that youthfulness that Suzanne has about her. It just sort of brings her into sharper focus, doesn't it? Because she feels like someone that you would form a connection with very quickly, and who would be quite fun and warm, but we still don't know. We can't know how deep her relationships would normally be, if you know what I mean. People can be very pleasant and outgoing and fun, but there's self-preservation or a boundary or barrier sometimes that sometimes people don't really notice. They don't reflect on that and think, how much do I really know? And this is something over the months that I've spoken about as well, and really bugs me. It's, people must think, wow, could Suzanne really talk to me? I hope she did talk to someone, and if there's a problem, I hope she did talk to someone. And that person must speak out. It might not mean anything. This is the thing. It's not your responsibility. Let the police make of it what it will. You might feel that you will be putting weight to something that leads to a conclusion that's not, how can I say this? Whatever it is, let law enforcement work it out, because you might not be dobbing in someone, innocent or guilty. It's hard to explain. Your loyalty has to be to the truth and finding the truth, and how you feel about what you're holding in or not. Anyway, this was going to be just a quick minute, just a reflection on a couple of things that I'd heard that, or read that Sarah Noel had written. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Speak to you later.